we have gone for the BMW M2. Now it's had a bump on the front, nothing major. Obviously alloy is destroyed, so we could be having a bit of suspension damage in there. Back wheel is absolutely curbed, and then a little bit of road rash on the back bumper. Inside we've got airbags that have gone, so we're going to end up replacing the dash. The steering wheel airbag, pretty simple, straightforwards, but this is a 40,000 mile 2016 BMW M2. Even though there has been airbags deployed in this, it does start drive, but because of this front wheel, it isn't actually drivable. So first job is get this wheel off, pop on just a temporary wheel just to get us by and actually get us manoeuvrable, so I can get this into the workshop and we can start stripping it down, having a look what is going on. Now luckily for me, the wheel nut was there, the locking wheel nuts are quite loose on this, so I'd say the wheel nuts have been removed, or this wheel has been removed, just to check out what the damage is. So it's going to be interesting to see what we find behind here. Have a look at that. Jesus. Yeah, I'd say we're going to have a fair bit of suspension damage on this. Nice. So, this lower arms took a good whack. The mounting point all looks good. Track rod may potentially be out, and then we've hit into this wheel arch. Luckily, wear sensors don't look like they've been damaged, and so far so good. I can't see anything onto the chassis, but obviously we're going to have to remove this completely. Shock absorber potentially, I don't know whether that's had a whack there. That doesn't look like that. Should be like that. Bit of damage on the caliper, but look like brakes are actually, pads are brand new. So let's get the wheel on and see what happens. Thicker tyre. These tyres are 245 40 19, and these are 245 35 19s. That does look very close to that back arch. Just start to have a look and figure out what is actually happening, what do we need to order, and how bad is the damage. Trying to decide whether it's good news or bad news. No sort of body damage, nothing on the body. Got a washer jet broken, all the coolers, rads, everything all looks good. None of the actual structure has been hit. One thing, this bottom frame has took a wallop, but I'll have to undo the bolts out of these, but they all seem as though the actual main fixing points are okay. So until I actually start to undo these and have a look, I'm not going to know for sure. Steering rack, so our issue with movement is on the steering rack, so potential replacement of the steering rack. Bottom on this side has had a real good whack. Brake wear indicator on this side is gone, so that's going to need replacing. And then over on the opposite side again, this bottom arm has took a hit, so I'm going to replace that just to make sure. Nothing else then really looks to have had any damage. Everything looks okay, so going to remove the front bumper because that is going to need repair. should all repair up though. Headlight, we're going to have to order a headlight, so obviously once that front bumper comes off we can get to that and remove that and get that on order. We've got a wing already, and then it's just going to be a couple of under trays, so fingers crossed. Not a huge part to this.
Can talk to me the way girl talk, the man fall back, I'm correct. All vanity, this life it beat the man, so the man
Front end stripped down, and I've not found any more hidden damage or anything like that. Everything looks all good. All the front legs look okay. It's just then finding out sort of with the steering rack whether that can be repaired. That is going to have some pressure on that. It's actually removing it. This is going to be fun.
to me the way girl talk, the man fall back, I'm correct. All vanity, this life it beat the man, so the man come regrets.
Spring's got to come off anyway, and to replace and go onto the move section. Just enough to release that pressure. Now as I undo these top bolts, that should release our suspension down and allow me to actually then remove that shock absorber. Just going to try to slip this off. Put a pad underneath when it's finally dry. Yeah. That should then let us manoeuvre that out of the way. Put our other bolts in place. That should hopefully give us space now to get that out. Hopefully. There we go. So one thing that I don't think I've factored in is this gaiter, so I'm going to have to order a new gaiter. I'm going to start getting my attention to the inside, so we're going to start looking at the dash. These don't actually need, these have got no tensioners in them, so these don't need to be done. So it is just literally where you plug the seat belt into that's going to need to be replaced. The dash pretty much out. The last little bits, I've got to remove the steering wheel, and then the top trim, it's just there, that pops off. We've got a couple of bolts here, and that should reveal our last two bolts at the bottom here that I can then get out, and that should be, once I've removed the steering wheel, the dashboard out. Pretty easy actually. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it is. I wasn't looking forward to doing this. Hopefully that will allow that to lift over then. So just the steering wheel now, so we'll get that removed next. So we've undone our little plug and this should just literally come straight off. Get some of the BMW parts through. It's going to enable me to actually start getting this thing put back together. Last time I got the dashboard stripped out and I've got the new one. So far it looks like it's going to fit, but I'm not going to know for sure until I actually get it in there. So that is going to be one of our first jobs. First of all, I need to get the suspension back together. Shock absorber has arrived, so completely knackered, the old one, so just swapped over the little rubber boot. The top section on there looks okay, so I'm trying to feed this down, getting it to sit correctly. So there's a little hole on the actual strut that locates the rubber boot at the bottom, and then that will hold in the bottom edge. The only issue that we've then got is that this new rubber boot, the old rubber boot, completely disintegrated. So new rubber boot, and then this top piece can sit on. There's nothing else really then, apart from on the top boot there's a special place for the spring to sit. So that's on, and then it's literally on with our little nut. Again, we need a little special through socket to allow this to tighten up. So we've got a 10mm spanner that goes onto this nut at the top. Put the socket on, sort of see on here. So it's just a little bit at a time. I'm trying to make sure the spring stays in the correct position. Sit all back into place properly. Just do a little bit. Again, hoping that top nut is done up correctly. One done. Two done, and that all looks good. Down to the floor again, give us a bit more space. Again, we can raise the car up if needs be. And then we'll try and feed. A bit of jiggling around in the back of here, and that should line up with the bottom, so that should fit into here. You can see that fully, but our little gap in here is where that should locate, so just making sure that that is correct, and then our top will rotate around, so that's not so bad. Jack under. Up the top, as I raise up the bottom, if I can catch the bolts in. Located. I'll actually just do those up now. And then hopefully the strut now can start to push back in, and again it's just making sure now this is all lined up. Looks slightly out of position, so it's just now whether I can twist it round, and the back bolt allows you to just make any little final adjustments. I'm going to try to jack it up now. As you can see, as I jack this up now, it just slots into place. And again, I just need to make sure our little, yep, so that's slotted in nice. And again, we've got a pinch point just about there. So it's about as far as it goes in. This can tighten up now. Get these bolts tightened up. I can fit in this bolt as well now, hopefully. So that should come through. May just have to release a little bit of pressure off. Get it in, but hopefully that goes in nice. This is probably the biggest nightmare that I've had so far, just trying to get this actually undone. And it looks like somebody's had a go at it before, so the actual arm that I'm levering against isn't in the best of shapes as it is. I've put the chisel in, I've lubricated this up, and I'm hoping to try and undo it, but so far it's been a bit of a pain. So next up, we start turning to our attentions to the inside. Now we're going to get the dashboard into place and just make sure that fits. Back all up, putting our last little bits in and our other trims on, so that is now our next job, is to get all these back into place and back sort of looking. Our next thing then is going to be connecting up our airbags, and I'm unsure. I don't see if I just connect the airbags, is the crash sensor still active and it's just going to blow the airbags, or has it reset, and unless there's another sort of crash and it senses there's another bit of damage, it's not going to set them off. So I don't know. So I've got another airbag, so I think I'm going to connect that up first and then try that. But then saying that, the roof curtain airbags, which is what's actually missing from up that side, they're connected and they haven't gone off, so I'm presuming that it won't go off, but I'm not sure. I don't know. So let's get this all put back together, and then that's what our test is going to be. Losing a bit too much light now, but surround around the steering wheel is back together. All of the connections are back together, so just literally pop the steering wheel onto place and bolt that in, and then I think it's time to find out whether the airbag's going to blow up. Basically, that's the best way to put it. So let's get the steering wheel on and let's find out whether these going to blow up when we put the battery on. Screwdriver in. You pop that off. That will then allow you to remove it. So let's plug this in, pop it in. Just going to let it sort of hang there. Hopefully it's not going to cause any damage. We're going to video that. And I'm going to turn the battery on. I'm going to hope and pray that it doesn't go bang. So wish me luck. Brilliant. So battery's on. So obviously it just knows. It just knows. We're not going to do anything else. What I do know I need to do is disconnect the battery again. I can then reconnect up on the proper airbag. I can put the steering wheel airbag in, and then the airbag that is missing. Have I been scammed with that? Did I get scammed? So the airbag that's missing from there, I've now got. I can plug that in again at the back, and that's got the same sort of connector in. So instead of undoing it properly, they've just literally cut the wires. But again, all I've got to actually do is pop tab out, and that will come out then. So it's the same connector in the curtain airbag as it is for the dash airbag. So let's get it disconnected. We'll get this in. We'll get the steering wheel airbag on. We'll then look at the fault codes and see whether all the airbag codes have gone, whether I need to clear them, and then whether our light goes out once I've cleared them, if that's what's required. So wish me luck. But all of our bottom arms, suspension need to be replaced. There's slight damage on some and not quite as slight on others. So in go the new bottom arms and linkages, and literally these literally just bolted in and out, so quite easy. But on this one you can see we've got a fair bit of damage. So in goes the new bolt, and then just tightening everything all up. Next up, we've got the suspension damage that you saw before, so that went in. That movement, so that's our actual damage that we need to figure out. It's our ball joint there. The steering rack's fine. Look at that. I thought there was movement in the steering rack before. I hadn't really pulled the dust cover back like that. You see it in there. So it's just that ball joint there now. So we've taken a measurement off the old unit. I've had to replace both parts as this was just absolutely jammed in. I ended up cutting it and trying to remove that even with the impact wrench in the vise, and it was just locked in. So for future it wasn't going to be very good anyway. So complete new unit put together. Just got to put this circlet on the end, make sure that doesn't fall off the dust boot. So it's just getting the lock over to the other side. Just going to screw this in. These fittings. Let's get our boot on this end. So the new little unit has come through for the headlights. I've just popped that in, and Bobby Dazzler. So all back working. So we can now look at getting the actual sort of light lens swapped over, renewed. New cover has come for the headlights, so we're going to try to replace it. So the first thing is we need to melt the glue on the old one. Apparently in the oven it's about 130 degrees for about 5-10 minutes. Final section now, so just prising it. And that then is the old unit removed, and we can look at getting the new one glued into place. Just test fitting the new one, so that's in, all slots in nicely. There's a couple of edges there where I've prized it a bit too much, so I'll have to heat that up and push it back down, but obviously once I've got the glue in place, so it all sort of fits and looks good, looks correct. Hopefully that's the headlight back. So for now, let's try and get our wheel arch lining back in on this side, and hopefully everything fits. The new wing didn't come with the badge, so we have just got to swap this M2 emblem over, but I can do that afterwards, so I don't need to worry about actually getting this out now. So, moment of truth, whether the colour actually matches the rest of the car or not. Why is this? Yeah, it's starting to come together. So our panel gap down here, so this is all got to come right across. So it's things like that before we start fitting things 100% that we need to start looking to get correct. But it's starting to look a bit more like a car again. It actually looks not quite as bad, and half there, so hopefully when we get this front bumper repaired, so I've already started to flat it down, just try and make the damage better. Now there's quite a big section of damage here, that's probably the worst bit of damage. All the rest of it is just going to fill in now and we'll be okay with that. But here we're going to try to actually heat this up, mould it back into sort of shape that it should be, and then staple it. That then starts to get the shape and some of the strength back in. We'll fill then in behind that just to give it a bit more strength, and then flat it all down, and hopefully that can then start to be repaired. While everything sets up and dries on the front bumper repair, we'd already filled in the little scratches on the back bumper. Now what we're going to do is just start flattening these back out, get these ready to be painted and repaired in. To it with a little bit of body work, and the bumper is now looking pretty close. So a couple of little areas that you can see in the grey around the black that just need filling in. So the grey parts around the black section are low sections, so just going to have to re-filler or stopper those in, and then another quick sand down, and then most of the rest of it then is pretty good. So you can see an awful lot more once we start to get it into the primer. You can see any little low spots or high spots, and the rest of it then is pretty close. So a couple of things that we wanted to do, we're fairly happy now with the repairs, so everything is all looking good. So we're going to need to use some degreaser on the bodywork and then we're actually going to flat the original paint down with a bit of an emery cloth, so just a low grade emery cloth, and we're just going to literally go over the paintwork, and then we'll give it another clean off with the degreaser. And this is going to try and just make sure we've got no contaminants on the paintwork of where we're going to be painting. So it's just a good coating up, and this is self-drying, so literally we can be quite liberal with it, get it nice and wet. Don't be afraid to get it nice and wet. Rough up the original paintwork so it's got something to key back into. Bodywork covered, all repairs covered with the primer, and that we're happy with all the shapes and we've got no sort of issues. We can then start to look at getting our final colour on. So just a bit of a mist coat on there, just literally two things. I'm going to find out whether we've got any paint reaction. So sometimes when you put the paint on to other paint, it can pickle, get problems with that sort of, whether it starts going a funny sort of texture on the finish. So just to double check for that, but also with the proper colour coat we can then see if we've got any little imperfections anywhere that we want to now go back into and actually fill in and re-flat down and re-primer. So far we've got a couple of tiny little bits, but I think we can get away with them, sort of more looking like it's going to be stone chip sort of a thing. So whether we do that again afterwards, but at the minute I just want to get some paint on and see whether the colour's correct. And then some parts, as we build up the colour, we will lose some very, very tiny imperfections, but others it will make them stand out even more. So we can just build up the coats now slowly and see how it looks. See on the camera, it doesn't actually look bad on the camera, but the colour's out. 100% the colour is out. I think maybe getting it into the light might be better. The lighting in this workshop isn't great. You'll start to see just a couple of little imperfections in this area here where we've not quite filled and flatted them out properly. The rest of it doesn't look too bad. I think the rest of it is just shadows that you can see. But yeah, there's a few little bits here that need doing. Again, just filling those in, just making them look a little bit better, which I never really I've not spent much time up here, in all fairness. It's been all down on that bottom corner. Or is it just the shadow? I don't know. It looks to me like the colour's out, but I suppose I'll have to get another couple of coats on. And then, as I say, we've got a couple of little areas just to refinish off. And then once I'm 100% happy, I can get this back section in. Again, I don't want to paint the bumper on the car until I'm happy with the colour, but that might actually also just confirm that the colour is out or not, so that might be our next bit that we do. And the BMW M2 is back. It's back together, not 100% finished in all honesty, but it's sort of there, it's done. Paint, as I'd sort of said, was the wrong colour. Just, it's not so obvious on the video, or it maybe is, but it is the wrong colour. But for the moment I've literally just had to get it back together. Everything's fitting as it should do, making sure I've got all of the parts, and I've been caught out with the washer jet, so that's wrong. So the bumper's going to need painting. I'd started to repair the back alloy, so that's nearly to a point where that can be painted. I'm not going to do that part of the back bumper until I've got the correct paint, and I've took it for a bit of a test. So I wanted just to find out what it was going to do, if I've got any more issues, and it didn't go well. Now, for some reason, I can't reset the actual brake wear indicator, so I've plugged it in, looked at it, and it's actually reading that the brake sensor is okay, because I presume that there might have been a wire that was actually broken, but going into it, diving into it, there's not. So I've just got to reset the computer on the vehicle, but I think the actual battery might just be throwing a few errors into the system, being a little bit low. So I want to give the battery a good charge, because I know all about BMWs and bad batteries due to this 645 CI behind me. Now, this is an absolute nightmare, and it's literally just been shoved in the garage and left to collect as much dust as it can, and that is where I stole the wheel from to actually get the M2 movable in the first place. So a slightly thicker tyre. These tyres are 245 4019, and these are 245 35. So bit of a sad scene, this one, but this might be a little project that we can have a look at after we've got the M2 up and running correctly. But for now, I need to concentrate and get the M2 done, sorted, and all the little issues corrected. Now, I also thought I might have got away with the steering rack not being an issue, just fitting the little tie rod on the end of there and all that being done. That was hopefully going to fix it. Well, actually, when I test drove it, I got very, very loose steering and not fantastic steering. So I need to find out whether that's just down to the tracking, because obviously it's not been tracked up properly, or whether I've got an extra issue within that steering rack and whether that is going to need replacing or not. I then got a whole host of other issues with drivetrain. I've still got a couple of potential issues in the headlight, the adaptive headlights, but there's a little lever within this brake caliper, or at the back of this brake disc, that connects onto the one part of the chassis, so I need to get that fixed before I can identify and definitely know that I've got an issue with the adaptive headlights. And then just a couple of other little bits and bobs. I've also got, it seemed like the brakes were sticking, so the rear handbrake, I think we're going to have a look at the handbrake actual mechanism and free all that back section off, and then that's possibly going to take us into another video of now trying to just finish off all the little bits and find out what the issues are. But for now, it's back together. It's not running as it should do. It's running and it will drive. It is sort of okay, but it's not what you'd want to actually be driving with all the faults on. So that's potentially our next video of trying to find out what the issues are. Can we fix them? How do we fix them? And is it going to cost us a fortune? So hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video. They are going to be hopefully a little bit more consistent, but it is just on the side that I'm doing this, so it's just trying to find time to actually get the work done is the problem. So, but hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.